What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers obviously want a star, and that's just the Lakers' MO, period. Right? They want to go big game hunting every opportunity that they can. They want to stack as many stars on a team as they can. Now, obviously with the new CBA and all that stuff, you can't do like the big threes and all this crazy stuff. Right? You know, now that we have Mark Walters with deep pockets and stuff, unfortunately, you can't just go buy a championship. You can't just put together, some crazy super team, right? The new cap restrictions are just, they're very limiting, especially once you start getting in that first, second apron. And you've also heard Rob Pelinka talk about how he doesn't want to limit the Lakers, right? With the new CBA, you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to get caught in this like purgatory area, this purgatory space. So, he talked about how, he wants optionality and he wants to be able to get off of guys if need be and have proper contract structures and stuff. And I think that's just going to be the new thing, period, in the league. Right? I think I've talked about it. Like, I think those bigger contracts, I think like teams are going to start rounding down. Right? So if you were if you would have gotten like a $22, $23 million contract, I think now you're like an $18 to $20 million contract. If you were like an $18 million guy before, 17, like Rui, for example. I don't think Rui would get 17 million. I think he'd get like 14 or 15 million. Right? Like under the new CBA. I just think teams are going to start rounding down rather than kind of rounding up or giving that incentive. I think you'll see like shorter deals and all that stuff, right? But obviously, look, if you can land a Giannis Antetokounmpo or you can land a Nikola Jokic, right, if you can bring either of those guys in, you do it. Like, no ands, ifs, buts about it. Like, if Giannis is like, hey, I want to play with Luka, you do whatever you have to. You figure it out. You clear the cap space. You do whatever you have to do to make that happen. Same thing with a Nikola Jokic and a Luka Doncic. But I don't think that they necessarily need to dive into a star. Talked about over on As It Stands Lakers, and kind of broke down in depth. So I don't want to go too much into it here. Go check out that video over there. But talked about how, there's a narrative going around of like, hey, the type of player Luka is, you don't necessarily need another star. You want kind of the right complementary pieces around him, and you want the depth, right? And, I talked about, and I made a whole video again over on As It Stands Lakers a month or so ago, where I talked about like kind of this vision that I have. And I've mentioned it here on this channel. Something that I've kind of thrown out on several occasions, live streams, all that stuff, where I'm just like, I have this vision of like Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton with like three just really athletic, versatile wings. Like, Dude Thero, Arthur Kaluma, and Darius Baisley were kind of the three examples that I use. These just long, versatile, lengthy defensive players that can switch. And now you have enough athleticism and defense and switchability to kind of mask Luka Doncic. That was kind of the idea. That was the thought. That was the vision in it. And I do still have that. Like, I do think that that's probably the best route. But we've seen the Lakers time and time again, more often than not, right, wait around for the star, even if it's to our detriment. Right? Like, we've seen things with like Dwight Howard, and it was like the writing was on the wall. We all knew. Lakers are waiting around. They're putting up posters, doing all this other stuff. And like, that situation was a little different. So maybe that's not the best example, but like even like Kawhi Leonard. Right? The Kawhi Leonard said, we're waiting around for Kawhi, and we end up getting burned. Luckily, we were able to, and there was enough quality guys in free agency still, because everybody was waiting around for Kawhi Leonard, that we're able to piece together a roster enough to go win a championship. Even the Paul George situation, right? Lakers wait around and are patient for Paul George, and then he ends up burning us, and now we're in this position. Luckily, again, it ended up working out. You get LeBron and then AD and all that stuff. So again, there's these things that kind of we've seen over the past of the Lakers wanting to star hunt and chase and go big game hunting and waiting for the star and stuff. And something I've talked about, like, I'm one of those, if you build it, they will come type of guys, right? If you have the complementary pieces, if you go the depth route and you build like this just flushed out team, right? And you have just the athleticism and the shooting and the size and the defense and all of this stuff, right? Like, that's going to incentivize that other star to want to go to you more than otherwise, right? So then now it's like, okay, well, now maybe we do consolidate guys, or hey, these three guys, we're going to have to pay more on their next contract. instead of paying these guys, let's just kind of let them go and bring in an Anthony Edwards. Yes, I said Anthony Edwards, speaking it into existence, future Laker. There, I said it. But, and also, like, just using him as an example, right? Like, now all of a sudden, Anthony Edwards, a couple seasons from now, goes like, dang, me, Luka, Adu Thero, right? Arthur Kaluma, DeAndre Ayton, we can go win a championship, baby. And then on top of that, now Lakers have, whatever, Bronny James and this guy and that guy and all the, Jake LaRavia. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. And like, we have something here, right? Like, if you build this roster and you flush this out in a way and you have the depth and the versatility and all that stuff, like, yes, Luka had Kyrie Irving, but they also had a bunch of depth and talent and defense and versatility and wings. And you had Derrick Jones Jr., who's just athletic and can defend multiple positions and just do all this stuff out there on the basketball court. And then same thing with a PJ Washington who defended and basically became a completely different player, kind of became that defensive anchor for the Dallas Mavericks and stuff. And then you have Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and just the athleticism and defensive versatility and all that stuff with those guys. And you start to piece together that team, and it's like, that's the route that the Lakers could go. Go with the depth. Go with the versatility. Yes, you're going to need another scorer and playmakers. And look, maybe it's Austin Reeves. Maybe they keep Austin Reeves for that reason, and you just have a bunch of athleticism and defense and all this stuff, and you got all this depth and versatility. Sure, maybe it can work. I have my concerns and questions about that, but again, you never know. You won't know until you get there, right? And then you can always like move off Austin Reeves later or whatever if it doesn't work out. But to me, I don't want the Lakers, which with the new CBA, they might not even be able to, even if they want to, but I don't want to see the Lakers kind of fall into old habits. I don't want to see the Lakers end up kind of, they have opportunities to do X, Y, and Z and do all this stuff and get this depth and get this talent and get these guys and that guy, but it's like, we got to be patient and wait for the Giannis thing. It's why like the whole like 2027 thing doesn't really make sense. One, you're probably gonna have to trade for either guy, a Giannis or a Jokic. But two, it's like, again, like you still have to build out a roster, still have to fill out a roster. And then three, what if DeAndre Ayton's really good for you? You're gonna have to pay him. You're gonna have to pay Austin Reeves $30+ million next year, and then let's say you have to pay DeAndre Ayton $20+ million, right, on his next contract. All of a sudden, there's all your cap space. And then if Jake LaRavia is really good, right, you're just gonna let him go, and then now you're 2 years in, and now you got a year where you're gonna have to extend an Adu Thero and all that stuff. So again, it's just like that cap space is gonna be gone before you know it, right? Like if things work out, if guys work out, right? So it's like, instead of going and chasing and going big game hunting, stay the course, right? Round out this roster, go the depth route. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.